Hello everyone, welcome to a new vlog. Welcome if you're new here. Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a full-time writing instructor and a part-time content creator and indie author. Welcome back if you're one of my lovely returning friends. It's great to have you all here. It is Monday, and it is Monday, July 31st, which means it's the last day of July, and as of tomorrow, or definitely as of when you are watching this, we are in the first month of the new semester. So the semester hasn't started yet, but after today I can no longer say it's starting next month. So yeah, it's it's a little sad. I mean, there's things I'm looking forward to, so it's good, but it's also just, where has this summer gone? Like, I know where it's gone. And in some ways this summer has gone really slow. Like, I feel like in some ways I've done really well with like slowing down and making time for myself, slow living and mindfulness and all of that. And I've had some really lovely moments throughout this summer. I just posted onto Instagram my 1 second every day reel for July. And like, July has been so weird. I'll talk about this more probably in another video, as I still need to like plan for August and stuff, and it might be good to sit down and do like a reflecting on the year so far and planning for the rest of the year to come. But just briefly, just quickly right now, like looking back at that, at my 1 second every day, like there's so many peaceful moments, but yet July has also been really chaotic in my mind. It's been a rough month as far as my seasonal depression. It just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks at the very beginning of the month. I think because May and June were both really nice compared to what they could have been. I don't know. It's a mix of emotions, and part of me is looking forward to the fall because I do love fall, and I'm so ready for the weather to cool down, like for good. It's actually not that bad out there today. It's only getting up to around 100 degrees. Even that, I mean, compared to 117 is good. It is going to go back up to the 110s, but then it'll cool back down. But like, we ended up having like 30 days straight of temperatures over 110 in a row, which is not like us. July usually has more variation, especially because July we usually have the monsoon, and so the temperature can go between being really hot and dry and then being a little bit cooler but hot and humid with a monsoon storm coming in. Although you guys did see, we did get a bit of a monsoon storm. That was at the very end of the last vlog, and oh my gosh, that was just so amazing. We need more nights like that. But yeah, it's just, July's been weird. July's been very weird, and Camp NaNo has been weird. This has been a very interesting Camp NaNo. So my plans for today have been changing and fluctuating, and like, I don't really know what I'm doing anymore at this point. What is anything? I don't know. It's the last day of Camp NaNo. I want to let myself work on this project for one more day. Like, there's a lot of things that I need to do, that I have to do, that I should do, blah, blah, blah. Like, I really should be doing some editing today, but I don't think I'm going to. I really should do, I need to do some cover sketching. Not sure if I'm gonna do that. I need to set up my planner for the week, for the month. I will do that tomorrow and probably vlog that separately. But like, it's the last day of Camp NaNo, and I know that once camp is over, I really won't be able to justify spending that much time on this particular project. I'm going to have to spend time working on editing and cover sketching and stuff like that, and editing book 4 in this series. You know, outlining and writing book 5 is the lowest priority. So like, it's Independent Hearts, Across the Pond 4, Royal Romance 1, and then Across the Pond 5. That is, of the 4 projects I've got going, that is their order in priority. So I really, after camp ends today, I really can't justify spending that much time. So where are we at? I think the last day I vlogged was last Wednesday, the 26th, and that was the day that I won Camp NaNo. I did 788 words that day. On Thursday the 27th, I wrote 1,123 words, which was amazing. I had written about like 700 or 800, and then I stopped. I think I had dinner or something, and then I thought, I feel like I can write more. And so I did some more work on it and got up to 1,123 by the end of the night. So yeah, we are now, as of the start of this vlog, at 16,381. So I want to do some work on this. It's 2 o'clock. I've been trying to start this vlog for the past hour. So we've got our intro. I'm going to start doing some actual work and some actual outlining, and then we will discuss the project a little bit more. But I think this is just going to be a super cozy writing, outlining, end of Camp NaNo vlog. So I hope you are excited about that. And yeah, just get comfy, relax, and hang out with me while I try to solve the issues in this book. My problem. I have written a lot. I've outlined a lot. I have over 17,000 words in my outline right now, and every chapter has at least, most of them now are above 750. Chapters 1 through 17 all have at least 750 words. Chapters 18 through 24 have at least 500. So like, I've made a lot of progress, but, and I'm kind of kicking myself, but you know, we were doing things differently, right? For camp this month, we were doing things differently. So this feels like a rookie error, but I'm confessing all of this to prove that even when you have written several books, it's all still a process. And it's not like if you write X number of books that suddenly you are bestowed with the gift to come up with the answers for all of your questions from the beginning. So here's my problem. I have a lot of scenes. I have a lot of scenes that even have a fair amount of detail. I have characters who I know and who I know what their problems are, but there's no like actual plot. There's scenes. There's no plot. I don't really have an inciting incident at the beginning. I don't really know the climax other than that it's a romance, so therefore something should threaten to tear the characters apart. So I've spent the last few days reading books on plot structure and writing romance. So I read one book on plot structure specifically, started off great, and then took a sharp turn into this author doesn't know what they're talking about. And the classic problem I have with a lot of writing craft books is the author of the book, who is usually an author themselves, will try to make it seem as if the advice that they are presenting is the one and only way to write a book. And so this particular plot structure book, was very clearly 3-act, which is great. 3-act structure is a great structure to follow. It's a very common structure to follow. It is not the only structure to follow, however, and they were really making it sound like it was. There were also little things in it, like I actually wrote the note WTF in one section. Now I can't remember what it was they were saying, but it was just like, you cannot say that as if it's the one and only piece, like it's as if it's fact. It's an opinion. This is what I don't like about craft books, and why I don't read very many craft books, because they always end up irritating me. Like, I need to read more craft books, and I need to just learn how to temper my irritation, because it's just an issue of you read one of these books, you take and absorb what's good and what resonates, and you dump the rest. But yeah, it was just, there were some bits that I really liked and enjoyed, and that I agreed with, because I'm already doing that in my books. And then there were other parts where it was just like, well, now you're just irritating me. And ultimately it didn't help me solve my problems. Then I read a book on how to write romance, or writing romantic fiction, which was really good and had a lot of good advice, a little bit more basic, but I did pick up some things that helped, but none that solved my problem, which is that I have no plot. Like, that's weird to say because I've got so many scenes, but like, there's nothing I feel that grounds them all and ties everything together. I can't see the arc in my head, and usually I can. Usually by this stage in the outline, I can see that clear arc. I can see the inciting incident, how that eventually leads to the first conflict point or pinch point or whatever we want to call that, how that then leads to the midpoint, how that then leads to the third conflict point, because the midpoint is conflict point number 2. So how the midpoint leads to conflict point number 3, and then how conflict point 3 leads to the climax, and then how that leads to the resolution and the ending and all of that. Oh, this is what irritated me about the plot structure book. They talked about how epilogues are basically pointless, how they're self-indulgent. Like, there was just a lot of really judgmental wording in it, and it's like, you clearly don't write romance, and you clearly don't read romance, because almost every romance I've read, like 90% of the romance I read, have epilogues that are set a month or so or even a year after the main action of the book. And it is just to tie everything up and to let the reader know, like, these are the characters having their happily ever after. And as a romance reader, I'm actually really annoyed when an author doesn't include an epilogue. There are certain genres of books that do not need epilogues and that don't need prologues, and that your prologue should, if it's important enough to be in a prologue, it should just be chapter 1. And if it's important enough to be in an epilogue, it should be in your final chapter. I get where this author was coming from with the advice, because in some genres, that is the advice. You don't have a prologue or an epilogue. But in romance, you don't always need a prologue, and I'm always very careful with, I have them in some books and not in others, but epilogues are so specific, and they are genre specific. And so I keep finding these craft books that will try to make it sound as if the advice they're giving is applicable to every genre out there, including genres that they clearly have not read or written or studied in any capacity. So, and when I read one section like that, it makes me question all the advice that you've given. So yeah, that book, I won't tell you what book that was specifically, because I can't recommend it, but that just left a really bad taste in my mouth when I was reading that one. The romance book was more helpful, and it did give me some additional things to consider in my structure, but it's, none of these books is going to like magically give me my plot idea. So I don't want to keep adding to what I'm writing, because I don't want to keep writing stuff that I'm going to have to rewrite if that makes sense. I might let myself just start writing chapter 1, because like I don't mind rewriting chapter 1 if I need to. Like if I needed to just completely start from scratch, that would be fine. And so I'm wondering if maybe a little bit of discovery writing in these first couple chapters would help. I worry that it almost feels like I'm writing several episodes of a TV series, if this makes any sense at all, where every few chapters it's leading up to a big dramatic moment, but none of these dramatic moments really feel like they're connected through that overarching plot arc. Am I making sense? Probably not, and that's why I'm struggling to write this outline. This is why I outline though, because, you know, I started getting ideas for this book. They just started like info dumping themselves into my head on a nightly basis. And so that's why I wanted to do work on this project for camp this month, because I just wanted to get these scene ideas and these character ideas out of my head and on to my computer so that I wouldn't lose them or forget them. But now that I'm writing them down, I'm realizing they all feel a bit disconnected, and they're not combining and pulling together and merging together into a solid plot idea. And so I'm not angry. I'm not angry, I'm not mad. It's fine, because again, this is so far down the list of priorities and I have plenty of time to work on this. And so maybe this project does start taking more of a back seat, and maybe switching to editing my other novels and maybe going back and working on Across the Pond 4 a bit more, because the characters in book 5 are in book 4. And so maybe working on book 4 again for a little bit will help generate some ideas. I have one idea using a very popular trope. It could be interesting, it could be fun, but I'm not like jumping at that idea, so I don't know that that idea is really the one I want to go with, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. How do you write books? Like, I've done it several times, but it's like suddenly I've forgotten everything. Like it's weird because I have so many of these scenes in my head, and I like the scenes that are in my head, and I know these scenes will be used in one way or another. And like there's the one trope I could use would work really well with how I've created these characters. I just don't know that that's really the direction I want to go in. And I kind of had an idea for another plot idea, but I'm not really sold on that either. And so it's just a bit weird. Like, I've never been in this situation where I have scene ideas that are so clear and so strong, and where I have characters that are so clear and so strong. I know who they are. I know what, well, him I'm a little less sure of. I don't know what all of his issues are. His background is still a bit murky, so I probably need to do some work on that. But I also almost now worry that whatever I create for him, like, it needs to be organic and authentic, and not me trying to then fit him into a box that I'm trying to fit the story into. Difficulties. Lots of difficulties. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna let myself write chapter 1, just start writing it, and at least get myself grounded a bit more in my main female character, who'll be the main protagonist and POV of the book. So like, I think I want to spend some time working on her in the context of the first chapter and how the book would start. But then like the first chapter needs to end with something that propels the book forward, and I just don't know. So maybe by the time I get there, I'll know. I don't know. But I'm gonna start writing because I don't know what else to do. I'm not gonna keep writing, but I'm gonna let myself start writing. So we'll see. But yeah, that's my problem. So let me stop talking, start writing. We'll see if anything comes up as I'm writing, and we'll take it from there. Okay, I've got about 900 words, just in case you were wondering. I don't know. I mean, I know what I've written is useful. It's definitely material that will need to get used in some form or another. I'm still struggling. It's just weird. I really like this character, and I think that's part of the problem though. Like, I want to give her a good story. Like, I really like this character, and I really like how she's being developed, and I feel very emotionally connected and invested in this character. And so I don't want to just throw together a story that doesn't fit her. I think part of my problem is I'm still figuring out what her professional conflict is going to be, because usually in all of my books there's a professional or external conflict that the main female character is dealing with, and then there's an internal personal relationship conflict that she's dealing with. I don't know, in this one, in this outline so far, both of those just feel like they're a little tenuous, and I don't have a really solid idea. I feel like her personal conflict is a little bit more developed because I've got the relationship, and I kind of know what his issues will be and how that will feed into her issues, but even that is not as solid as I feel like it should be for as much as I have written. And it's becoming clear now that despite having now over 18,000 words in this outline, or in this document, now I'm starting to write the first chapter, despite having that many words, it's mostly just individual scenes. I need to remind myself, like, I'm not going to solve this in one day. I want to keep writing. I'm trying to approach all of this from a place of curiosity and intrigue and not annoyance or frustration. Like, there is no rush on this story, but it's a little bit surprising to me. I think I'm just a little bit taken aback, because what I've written down already, like, I had 16,000 words in my head desperate to get out, but now that I've written all that down, it's become very clear that that material wasn't as whole of an idea as I thought. There's still some missing pieces, and I just need to figure out those missing pieces before. I feel like where I'm at, trying to, like, the best way I can describe this, where I'm at is my outlining process, like where I aim to get before I let myself start writing. It's like when you do a puzzle, you find your corner pieces, and then you find all your edge pieces, and then you put your whole edge of the puzzle together before you then start going in and putting together the puzzle itself. With outlining, it's kind of like I have that general picture in my head of the puzzle, and so I'm trying to isolate the corners, and I feel like the corners are your main beats, your main plot points, and then I start filling in the edge, all the edge pieces. And so by the end of my outline, it's like in a puzzle where you've got all your corners and you've got all your edges, and everything is put together. And I feel like right now I've got some of the corners and I've got some of the edge pieces, but there's also a lot of gaps. And so because of that, like when you put together a puzzle and when you have all your edge pieces and all your corners, you have your established frame of the puzzle, and you know at that point if your puzzle is this big, if it's this big, if it's this big, if it's this big. And right now, because I don't have all the edge pieces and I don't have all the corners, I don't know the whole picture, the whole frame of my story. And I don't like just diving into the writing until I know the parameters and the perimeter, essentially, of my story. I like knowing this is my boundary. These are my four corners and my four walls, my sides, my top, my bottom. This is the frame I'm working within, because then that keeps me from adding in everything in the kitchen sink. So yeah, I don't want to start writing. I'm letting myself write this first chapter because I think everything that I would write in here is stuff that would get used even if it got moved to a different chapter or something. It's all important for grounding this character, the character of this book, into this story after what you've seen of her in the previous books. So I'm going to keep working on chapter 1. So yeah, I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep working on this because I am enjoying this and it is useful. It's just so far not solving my problems. All right, so Nano is done. So much for an even number. I'm not going to write anymore. So we're finishing up at 18,957. I did 2,576 words today, which is the most I've written in one session in a while. Definitely since finishing Independent Hearts 3, the first draft of that. So that's exciting. I feel good about what I've written. It's all useful background information, basically. The main character is coming to me, and her voice is starting to come to me. Like I can hear her in my head. And one of the scenes I was working on in chapter 1 is when she first sees the main guy. And like, I can't wait to develop that and them further. Like, there's so much I'm excited about this story. And I think that's why I'm just feeling a little bit irritated that like I'm having these issues, because I really do want to just dive in to start writing. But this is why I outline. Because it would be very easy for me to write tens of thousands of words in the wrong direction. I like to know roughly where I'm going before I start actively writing. There were definitely some good character development bits in this. Like I'm starting to see, like I said, I'm seeing her a little bit more clearly. I'm getting more ideas for her background, so that's good. I just want the plot. I want the rest of it. I want to know how all of this ties together. I might still write the rest, like I might finish chapter 1 or finish chapter 1 as it's outlined so far, and maybe even write chapter 2, but like I don't want to keep writing past chapter 2. I think that might be the thing that I switch to, is letting myself write the rest of chapter 1 and what was chapter 2 again. Yeah, and then the rest of chapter 2 has like when the two main characters finally start talking to each other. So I might let myself finish writing chapter 1 and write chapter 2 as they're currently outlined, even though there's flaws with how they're outlined, because like chapter 1 does not really end the way that I like chapter 1 to end. The end of chapter 1, I like to either have the inciting incident come at the end of chapter 1, or if the inciting incident is going to come chapter 2, chapter 3, if it comes later in the book, then chapter 1, basically every chapter prior to the inciting incident has to still end on some sort of bigger moment that propels the story forward and propels the reader forward. Because I don't want, like, let's say you put your inciting incident at the end of chapter 3 or chapter 4, if there isn't something happening in the scenes and chapters leading up to the inciting incident, your reader's not even going to get to your inciting incident because they're going to get bored. Right now, what I have in place here, it just doesn't seem to be enough. And I even have notes in here like, what happens at the end of chapter 1? What's the big inciting incident? I've got some ideas, I just don't know if they're exciting enough, and I don't know that they're, I think they'd be exciting enough for chapter 1, but I don't think they're really exciting enough to be the inciting incident for the rest of the events of the book. And that's what I keep coming back to. What I'm struggling with is I don't know what is that big conflict arc that starts with the inciting incident and goes through to plot, plot point 1, pinch point 1, conflict point 1, whatever you call it, pinch point 1 to midpoint / pinch point 2 to pinch point 3, finally to the climax, and then resolution. So yeah, I'm missing that. I'm missing those kind of key building blocks. I've got all the little scenes in between those. Like, ultimately, this is what it comes down to. I've got lots of little connective scenes and fun moments or dramatic moments or things where things change. And I've got, like, I've got what I feel like is pinch point 2, and my midpoint scene is a big dramatic scene, but I don't think it's actually the main midpoint. I feel like it's another thing that can happen around the time of the midpoint that will make the midpoint more challenging, but I don't think what I've slotted in as the midpoint is the actual midpoint. Oh my gosh. Like, maybe this is the problem with working this far ahead in, like, my publishing calendar. Like, I've got 3 other first drafts that still need to be edited, including the book that will come before this one. Like, I think there's pros to this because there are now things I know I want to edit and tweak in book 4 to set things up for book 5. There are just things that I'm realizing I may be writing myself into too much of a corner in book 4 with these characters. I need to make sure that I dial them back and leave room for whatever happens in book 5. But, like, maybe this is why I shouldn't be working on the next book when I'm still editing the previous book, and why I shouldn't be working on 4 projects at once, because I just don't know. I don't know. There's so many question marks hanging over this, and it really is a case of I've got 20,000 words now of what I think are really strong connective scenes. Like, I'm building out that connective tissue, but I don't have the skeleton. And, like, it's gonna make for a very a human with connective tissue but no skeleton is a very floppy human, right? So a book with a lot of connective scenes but no skeleton in the structure is a very weak and floppy story. So so frustrating. Fun. I'm still having fun. I feel like I need to make that extra clear. I'm still having fun here. This isn't torture. Well, I mean, kind of. It's fun torture. Like, this isn't torture. It's a fun challenge. Like, I'm being challenged. And this is just the reality of writing sometimes. You get ideas, but they're only partial ideas, or you get a story, but you get a general story idea and characters, but you don't get a solid plot idea, or, you know, something. Like, the writer's journey isn't easy, and if it is, you're probably missing a step somewhere. I mean, even the easiest book I wrote, which was probably The Bookshelf of Possibilities, still had its struggles. It still had things that I was not sure about. Writing is easy in some ways, I think, but it's also really difficult in other ways. So I'm still having fun. Camp has been really fun this month. I've really enjoyed it. I think this has been the most relaxed and fun camp or nano event in general that I've done this month. I really did want to focus on having fun and not going wild with word counts and focusing on the project and just seeing what I could do. And so I feel like I accomplished that. I met my goal. I exceeded my goal by a little bit. I had fun all month. I have made progress on this project. And even if I set it aside for several months and switch to focusing entirely on the other projects, I will still be much farther ahead than if I waited to start this at my usual time. So, like, camp has been good. I don't regret any of this. But I think the best thing, I suppose, about camp is that because I've been able to work on this, I now know the problems I'm facing. And so I can now take some time over these next few weeks, couple months, we'll see, to keep working on this idea. So it's all good. But it's after 5 o'clock. I'm gonna go relax. I need to go sit down on my couch. I need to lay down because my back is definitely feeling a bit sore sitting here. So I need to turn off. Let's just disconnect the laptop, all of that, and go relax and enjoy a nice and cozy evening. Okay, the air conditioning is turned off for a minute, so I'm going to try to wrap up this vlog before it turns back on. I think I'm going to watch another 1 or 2 videos and then I will get in bed. I finished reading The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. Put it back out here. I finished reading this, loved it, so good. Now I'm reading Here for the Drama by Kate Bromley, so that's in the bedroom, and I'm really enjoying that one so far. But yeah, it's been a good Camp Nano. Just to wrap up the Camp Nano stuff, it's been a good Camp Nano. More lessons learned and things for me to keep in mind as November approaches and for next year's camps in April and July. But yeah, it's been a really good month of outlining and developing plot development, character development, brainstorming, outlining, writing, all of that. So I know in the last vlog, I think the question was, how did you do as far as like your word count and stuff, and did you win Nano? If you didn't answer in the last vlog, you can answer that question in this vlog. But I would also like to know in this vlog, if you didn't mention this in the comments of the last vlog, how was your camp experience, like, mentally and emotionally this month? Like, I still managed to have so much fun. Even with these issues that have cropped up at the very end, I still love this project. I know it's going to be great once I get it figured out. And I just have had so much fun this month, especially talking to all of you and hearing your progress in the comments on each of the nano vlogs that I've put up, and just hearing you guys as you've gone through different stages and phases and issues with your projects. Yeah, it's been really good. I definitely want to keep fostering a sense of community, especially during nano months here on this channel, and maybe being just a different kind of space to hang out during a nano month that's not as focused on word counts and hitting goals and stuff like that, and just focused on the joy of writing. So did you have fun this month? Did you find the joy in your writing? I would really like to know. If you didn't do nano, you can let me know. Just, was July a good month? I feel like July was a very interesting month for me, but overall it was a really lovely month. There were a lot of really lovely moments in this past month. So yeah, let's just chat Camp Nano and chat July and all of that in the comments. Or you can leave me some more camping emojis in honor of the official end of Camp Nano. There goes the air conditioning. Timed this fairly well, so I'm going to wrap it up really quick. Give the vlog a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I would really appreciate both of those things. And I will see you all very soon in the next vlog. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye!